Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Rant number 10 and today we are going to be talking, hopefully quite briefly, about the ULEZ, which is the ultra low emission zone, which is going to be covering the north and south circular in London. Now the scheme is starting off in October 2021, and in addition to that we're also going to be talking about E10 Petrol, which is being rolled out in September 2021. So if you know someone who's a driver, if you know anyone that's driving into London, into Greater London, and is going through the North or South Circular, then please forward this video to them. Just sort of give them a bit of a heads up and make them aware of what's happening. I don't think the government have done anywhere near what they should be doing to raise public awareness, sort of drivers' awareness of potentially the bills that they could be facing on a daily basis if they're not aware, especially of the ULEZ zone, and how this is potentially could impact their livelihood and their ability to basically cross boundaries, as it were. This kind of sort of get the impression the ULEZ is very much a boundary, and either you can afford to enter it or you can't. So let's get into the video. Basically, if you want to drive into the ULEZ, which is the ultra low emission zone, and you can see that on screen here, we've got a Transport for London web page up. It's all kind of sort of working. You just put your number plate in there and it sort of gives you all this funky information. We'll do a little demo of that later, but briefly, if your vehicle is Euro 4 emission standards and is petrol, it will more than likely be ULEZ compliant. So as a rough guide, if you've got a car that's petrol, that's made from 2005 onwards, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be ULEZ compliant. Having said that, I have seen cars that are 2002 and they're ULEZ compliant as well. That's why very important to get onto this website and put your number plate in and find out for sure. The other sort of type of vehicle is diesel. Being a diesel driver myself, moving from petrol to diesel, absolutely love diesel cars. They're fantastic as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, I appreciate there may be a pollution and an emissions issue, but again, we'll have a look at this later on in the video. Some quite interesting sort of things to note. But again, if you're a Euro 6 diesel car owner, and Euro 6 will be from something like about 2015 onwards. So if you have a diesel car from 2015 or newer, then there's a pretty good chance it's going to be Euro 6 and therefore it's going to be ULEZ compliant, in which case, fantastic for you guys. If you had that issue back in, I think it was 2009, 2010, the government had a scrappage scheme and they basically incentivized drivers to get rid of legitimately useful cars, roadworthy cars, and pushed diesel cars down their throat. They literally were saying diesels are not what they were back in the days. They're fantastic. Definitely go out and get one. They're leaner, they're cleaner. They're just, you know, the car to have, and this is how we see cars moving in the future. We'll see more diesel vehicles turning up and everything's going to be great. So lots of people sort of went in and started buying cars around 2009, 2010 under a scrappage scheme, and obviously those cars, as we are now aware, are not ULEZ compliant. Some of these cars, again, if you bought them at full price or anything sort of like £10,000 or more, it's a lot of money to invest in a car to be told 10, 11 years down the line that basically you need to get rid of it to save the world. I guess that's the way the government works. Incompetent morons, but someone's got to be incompetent, haven't they? And I think they do a very good job of doing whatever it is they do. So this leads me to another Muppet, moron, pencil pusher, call him whatever you will. He is the leader of City Hall. At least I've got that right. I hope I've got that right. And it's Sadiq Khan. Either you love him or you hate him. Yeah, I don't love him much. But he, again, plans to save London. Being a Londoner himself, is trying to save London and hopefully get onto some form of world domination eventually, with his pussycat in tow. So he is basically, this is his baby. The ULEZ is his baby. He wants to save the world, and he wants bragging rights to say, hey, look, it was me, I did it, woohoo for the panda kind of thing. And my issue is not necessarily the fact that he's implementing the ULEZ, but it's the type of vehicles that are allowed and the type of vehicles that are not allowed. Now, very quickly, if you're driving something electric or something that's like 3 years old, this video doesn't apply to you, but there's bound to be someone else who doesn't have the luxury of driving around in a new car. So this is basically for them. And there are so many, as far as I'm concerned, there are so many people out there that, they don't look at their car as some form of, extension of their personality type thing. It's very much a case of, I need this car to drop the kids off, I need it to go to work, to go pick up the shopping, to take my family members to the hospital, etc., etc. There's a genuine, valid reason to have a car, and the car doesn't necessarily have to be a £50,000, expensive sort of executive saloon type thing. It just needs to work, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cars that fit exactly that bill. Cheap cars that run and do the job for millions and millions of families in this country. So what I've done is I've quickly I'll put a link to the TfL one here, and I will also put something for the E10 one, which is the gov.uk. I'll put that in the description below, so don't worry too much about them. You can search for them yourself if you want, but I'll put some links below. My issue at the moment is the okay, let's just have a quick look at this. So what I've done, I've gone into Auto Trader here, okay, and as you can see on the top left there, you've got 228,000 cars. Okay, I'm just going to quickly go through the options on the side there on the left. You can clearly see I haven't ticked anything other than petrol. Okay, and we have got 228,000 cars. Now, when you scroll up and slide this little ULEZ slider, which you'll see on screen now, there we go. Let's see how many cars are ULEZ compliant. 216,000. That's roughly 94% of petrol cars are ULEZ compliant. And if you start looking at the year, there will be a drop-off point here. If we can just quickly find the year, which we had here and just got rid of. If you look at the max and you scroll through this, you'll realise that pretty much all of the cars in these the years that they were manufactured are ULEZ compliant, and the only point where you see a drop is there. If you notice, 2006 you've got 7,000 cars, in 2005 you've got 3,500. That's roughly where the drop is between your car being ULEZ compliant and not being ULEZ compliant if it's a petrol car. Okay, so that was quite interesting, I thought. Let's quickly go to diesels now, and we'll do the same exercise with diesels. Let's see what comes up here. So 151,000 cars. Again, let's have a quick look here. We have nothing really set as such in terms of make and model, nothing in terms of like price ranges, year ranges, nothing like that set. The only key thing we have set here is diesel. So for diesel cars, 151,000 cars for sale, but when we slide that over to ULEZ, look at the amount, it's 85,000 roughly. That's like 56% of the diesel cars are ULEZ compliant. Now this is also an interesting thing. Look at the years. Let's pop into the years. Let's go here. Look, anything that's 21, 2019, 18, 17 or 16, it's all good. Loads of cars that are compliant. Look at the drop from 2015 to 2014. That's the difference here. If you've got a diesel car that's 2015 or newer, there's a very good chance it's going to be ULEZ compliant. If it's 2014 or older, you really need to go to the website and check. And again, that's the website there, Transport for London. Now, the impression I get here is that the government, Sadiq Khan, whatever you want to call it, City Hall, they're basically prejudicing diesel drivers. Now, based on just that alone, you would probably say, okay, well, that's because diesel vehicles pollute more. Yeah, fine. So, okay, if that's the case, then what I've gone and done is I've gone and got myself a sample vehicle here. Now, this is, as you can see on the left-hand side, a 2009 Vauxhall Corsa. It's a CDI, so we know it's a diesel. Okay, I'll show you a picture of this car in a minute, so just so you know, but have a look here. It has to pay congestion charge and it has to pay ULEZ, £12.50 a day. Okay, and you can see there we go, nice little notice. ULEZ will be expanding on 25th of October. Again, you can pop in the Transport for London website. All the links will be below in the description, so don't worry about sort of noting anything down. That's that car. That's a diesel car that is not ULEZ compliant. We are now going to go to a petrol car. We've got a Mercedes here. For you guys that can tell what that is, that's a CL63. That's a car with engine greater than 6 litres. This is an AMG. This is a sports car. This car has so much power. If it went for a lap at full speed around a racetrack, it would burn through, its rear tyres. That's how much power the car has. Funnily enough, it's only congestion charge you need to pay. You don't need to pay ULEZ at all. Now, let's have a quick look at these two cars. Here they are. You can look at the registrations there if you need to verify the registration here. There we go. Just something to show you that these are actually the cars. Let's just quickly get something a little bit more easier. Can we see a registration here? Okay, that photo will have to do. So these are the two cars. There you go. Vauxhall Corsa 1.3 litre. It's £1,000. It's a good little cheap run around for most people. It does the job. Okay, let's bring up some running costs for this car. And let's bring up this £16,000 powerhouse of a Mercedes. Okay, this is petrol. And again, let's bring up some running costs for this car. Okay, now the car on the left is a petrol car. Its CO2 emissions are 319. You're paying an annual road tax, I guess for want of a better word, of £600 a year. The insurance group is 45. Okay, this is, a very expensive car to own and run. If you look at the fuel economy, it's pretty much like putting a hole in the tank. Okay, 13 miles if you're driving around town. If you're in central London somewhere, or if you're stuck on the North Circular, you're going to be getting around 13 miles a gallon, roughly. If you can get it up to about 40 or 50, you're looking at around 21 miles per gallon of petrol. This £600 Mercedes Monster and cars similar to this with that are petrol are ULEZ compliant. But on the right hand side here, we now have, as you can clearly see, we have a Corsa, a £1,300 cheap little runaround. It's got £30 of annual road tax. Why is it £30? Because the DVLA have decided that this particular car does not emit high levels of emissions. As a result, it's given it a low tax band. So you only pay £30 a year as opposed to the petrol car where you pay £600. Okay, you can see the figures there in front of you. That clearly is telling me that this has nothing to do with fuel economy. This has nothing to do with emissions at all, because the fact you're quite happy to have a 6-litre Mercedes sitting on the North Circular, South Circular in a ULEZ, and for you to turn around and say, no, that's fine, that's not causing any pollution at all. Well, clearly you can see here it is. I'm not saying it, the DVLA are saying it, because they banded that car at 319 and gave it £600 of road tax. I didn't do that. Okay, the little car here, the little Corsa, there we go, little squiggle there, joggle the old eyes. 119 grams. It's almost like a third less polluting. Now, I know there are going to be people that are going to turn around and say, oh, but you don't get it, you don't get it. I do get it, yeah. Petrol vehicle on the left-hand side, yeah, I do understand it will produce more carbon dioxide, but will produce less NOx. That's NOx. Check it on the website, okay. Diesel vehicles produce less carbon dioxide, but more NOx. Fine, NOx kills people, it gives you cancer and all sorts of stuff. Not good for you. Carbon dioxide is nothing to brag about. It's the same thing, okay? It's not the lesser of two evils, it's just two different types of evils. You can't have an ultra low emission zone where you're turning around and telling the people, I'm trying to save you and give you better air quality, but I'm quite happy to let a 6-litre car pollute CO2 into the atmosphere, but I will not let a diesel car come in because its NOx rating is a little bit higher. I haven't got the NOx figures for you here. This is not supposed to be one of those half-hour type videos where I sort of tear into it, but just to give you an idea, this is not to do with emissions, because if it was, you would look, the DVLA for a start would look and say, okay, let's look at the CO2 and let's look at the NOx for both petrol and vehicle cars and for hybrids and all that kind of stuff, you know, and let's reband all of the vehicle tax so that it's more accurate. This is not accurate. The DVLA banding is not accurate, and the ULEZ basically is prejudicing diesel vehicle owners, and I think that's absolutely stupid. And all of this is being kind of masked under, you know, yes, we're trying to save the world kind of thing. You know, it doesn't work that way. I mean, look, you can clearly see here, it's a 6.3 litre in the middle of your screen, 6.3 litre petrol car against a 1.3 diesel. And you can clearly see here, just in the middle of your screen, I'll just bring it up, there's a nice little tick there that says this ludicrously overpriced, overpowered car is ULEZ compliant. But this one clearly isn't. Okay, and again, if you think I'm mucking around, let's go back here and let's look at this again. There it is, Mercedes CL63. You've seen the license plate just now I showed you, and you can marry it up here. This car, no congestion charge. There we go, top to bottom, nothing. Go in here to the little Corsa. Sorry, it pollutes. You've got to pay another £12.50. That's absolutely crazy. Now, Sadiq Khan did, again, talk out of his butthole and unfortunately said, if you can't afford to change your vehicles, you know, well, you know, this is the ULEZ. If your vehicle is not ULEZ compliant, just go and get another one, okay? That was basically his view, and there was an article in the Standard newspaper entitled New Car ULEZ Standards, Mayor Sadiq Khan. If you kind of sort of pop that in, you'll see an article, and basically he just tells people, if you want to drive in the ULEZ and you've got a car that's not ULEZ compliant, go out and buy another one. The government had initially decided not to have a scrappage scheme, but now they have decided to allocate millions of pounds. But again, very important, this is only for people who live in London that are either on low income or are disabled. So if you receive benefits or you're disabled, then you need to go to the TfL website, and there will be details of a scrappage scheme. Again, I will put the link to this. This is something you need to apply for. I'll put a link in the description below for the video, but click on the link, and the long and short of it basically is, if you've got a motorbike that's not compliant, the government will give you £1,000 towards the purchasing of a ULEZ compliant vehicle. If it's a car that you have that's not ULEZ compliant, the government will give you £2,000 towards buying a leaner, greener, more ULEZ compliant car. If this is anything to go by, then definitely go out and get yourself a 4 litre car. there's a pretty good chance you'll pick it up and just go outside and get yourself a 4-litre Jaguar or something like that. You'll have an absolute smile on your face, and you won't have to pay the ULEZ, and the government will have paid £2,000 towards it. Admittedly, saying that, if the gearbox goes, it'll probably cost you like £4,000, but that's a different topic. Yeah. If you're going to go down this route, definitely go and get yourself a car that you like, with a decent amount of power, because I think we've demonstrated here, and you can go and do the same thing yourself. Get onto Auto Trader, put in 4-litre, 5-litre, 6-litre petrol engine cars and slide that ULEZ slider, and you will be surprised at how many high performance, high power output cars are ULEZ compliant, pretty much regardless of the age. As long as they're from 2005 onwards, you can get yourself like a 3.5-litre BMW 5 Series if you wanted to, from like 2006. That's pretty much going to be ULEZ compliant, and it'll only cost you it'll probably cost you £2,000, if that, to buy the car. So yeah, it's madness here. What I would say is, if you're in a situation where you need to buy a car because you need to commute into London for whatever reason, or you have a vehicle and you're looking to get rid of it, then factor this in, factor the ULEZ in if it's something where you need to travel into London and you need to go through the North and South Circular. Saying that, don't buy a diesel car. What I would say, just do not buy a diesel car, full stop. It doesn't matter how new it is. It can be brand spanking new. Do not buy it. And the reason being, I get the feeling the government are going to move the goalposts, and that's really going to cause big problems to the resale value of your diesel car. Part exchange values for diesel cars are plummeting, because dealers just want to get rid of these cars, and they need a sucker like you to turn up and buy it. Someone who doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't know what's happening about the ULEZ. They want you to turn up there, buy that car. They'll make it seem like they're doing you a good deal, but trust me, you are getting shafted. Do not buy any diesel vehicles from today onwards at all. Doesn't matter how new or old it is, and however cheap or however fancy it looks. Just stay away from diesels and let the dealers that are selling these vehicles rot, because they do not care about you at all. Okay. The problem with this also is, the dealers know that you are going to be looking for a cheap petrol runaround. Now, cheap petrol runaround prices have also gone up. I think it's an average of something like 14% increase on used petrol cars, as demand has increased. So bear that in mind if you're looking for a petrol car. As I say, I'll put links to all these websites. I just want to quickly move over onto E10 as well. There is a YouTube channel called Double Duck Garage. A gentleman by the name of Simon Scott. He does a nice little sort of Q&A, or an FAQ, I guess, on E10 Petrol. So that's something that starts from September 2021. That affects only petrol cars. Now, most of the cars, and this is going to be a bit of an annoying thing, but try and get your head around this. So, cars that are petrol from 2005 onwards will be ULEZ compliant, pretty much. But cars from 2011 onwards will be also E10 petrol compliant, which means do not buy a petrol car that is basically before 2011. And if you do intend to buy, then you will need to go to the government website, that's the gov.uk website, check vehicle E10 petrol. I'll put a link below. Put details of the vehicle, find your vehicle in there. I don't think it's a license plate thing. You just basically need to look at the manufacturer, and it will give you a list of vehicles and a list of engine numbers, so you know which engine will take E10 and which won't. Very important that you do that. Okay, so as I say, I'll put a link below. The impression I'm getting here is it's basically classic car motorists and people like myself who would love to drive cars from the 70s, the 80s. We're not going to get a chance to drive these cars anymore. I think the government are pretty much trying to kill them all off. All classic cars, just kill everything off, and let's just drive around in a battery, and save the world kind of thing. So, yeah, if you're going to buy a classic car, if you already have a classic car, then definitely go and check out Simon Scott's video. He does a far better job at explaining everything than I do, but that's basically the gist of it. And also, if you're looking, and if you have come to the point where you're going to say, look, you know, I am going to go electric, and a lot of people are going electric, the batteries tend to last for about 10 years, okay, on a car like that. That's from brand new. So if you're buying it second hand, it's not only the length of the ownership of the vehicle. So, you know, if someone's bought a vehicle and from brand new and they've had it for 3 years, you can't say, oh, you know, there's another 7 years worth of battery left in that car. It doesn't work that way. It depends on how regularly the vehicle's been charged and the manner in which it's been charged, whether it's run right down to the ground, similar to your mobile phones. You know, do you charge them from 0 to 100 and 100 let them drop down to 0, or do you sort of just top it up as and when you need it, that kind of thing? There'll be a certain amount of recharges that a battery will go through, but you're looking at an electric battery for a car losing approximately 2.5% of its ability to hold a charge every year, and after 10 years a battery like that will probably need replacing. You're looking at around something like £3,000-4,000 to get, I mean, this is probably like for Priuses and things like that, you're looking around £3,000 or £4,000. That was kind of the figure that was thrown my way. So factor in things like that if you're looking to buy electric vehicles. Stay away, obviously you've got quite a lot of people going around stealing catalytic converters and things like that. If you do buy a vehicle, try and stay away from your Toyotas and your Hondas and things like that. They are reliable, but the thieves tend to sort of want to take cars like that, and yeah, Priuses and things like that. Those are the kind of cars, you know, these guys like to take catalytic converters off and then they'll sell them for hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and you'll be left with thousands and thousands of pounds worth of repairs and a car basically that you can't drive. So yeah, do your work. If you're looking to get a car, make sure it's ULEZ compliant, make sure it's E10 compliant, and if you're going to go down the route of buying an overpriced electric car now, make sure you get one with the most amount of range. Personally, I would wait till 2025 because that's when most dealers have signed up to getting the whole of their fleet transferred to electric. That's when we expect performance in terms of the quality of the batteries, the longevity of the batteries, the amount of distance that a vehicle can travel on one charge. We expect all those kind of things to increase by about 2025 to 2030, and the reason again is because a lot of dealers throughout the world, they're all basically working towards let's try and have a fleet of all electric vehicles by 2025 2030. So I would say that's probably when the government might also introduce a few incentives, and dealers might be looking to get rid of some of these cars, and hopefully as you start building cars en masse, the unit price should in theory become a little bit cheaper. So they may become £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 cheaper. I don't know, we'll find out when we get there, but that's something to also bear in mind. If you are going petrol, if you can, buy the cheapest thing to get you to do whatever it is you need the car for. Try and make sure it's ULEZ compliant, try and make sure it's from 2011. If you are looking to buy an electric car, try and wait till 2025, 2030 and use petrol as a stopgap vehicle. And then hopefully by then the petrol vehicle won't be worth anything, but then at the same time you will also get a slight drop in sale prices from the manufacturers of electric vehicles, because there will be a high volume of them on the forecourts. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to tell you. Thank you very much for those people that have got to the end of this video without trying to shoot or hang themselves. I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.